A warm greetings and welcome to the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour December 2024. I'm host Makonnen Sankofa, author of several books including The Rise of Rastafari, Life in Gambia, Experiences of Living Across Africa, and How to Market and Sell Your Book. Into the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour has been going on since May 2020. We're coming up to 5 years in May 2025. So it's just been, over 4 years and 6 months. And I'm proud to say that over the course of that period of time which we've been running, that we have had 450 authors, publishers, booksellers, people in the book related industry that have been on the platform. And we've grown, to a large international audience of people who watch the show from all over the world, from in America, in England, in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Asia, and other parts of Europe, and various different countries all over the world. So we have a global audience. And also, we have authors that come on the show who are in, different locations and different places in the world on different shows. So I'm very, very, proud of that. And on this particular episode of the International Book Show, we've got a great show lined up from you. You're going to be hearing from a variety of authors, one by one, and they're going to be telling you all about the book that they've written. Now, without any further ado, what I'm going to do now is hand it over to the first author who's going to be speaking about the book, or I should say, books that he's written.
Hello, my name is Anthony Owens, and it's an honor to be on the International Book Show. I want to talk about myself and the books that I've written. Like I said, my name is Anthony Owens. I was born in Dawson, a place called Dawson, Georgia, in the United States. But I was raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I went through a lot of troubling times, as did a lot of other people. Unfortunately, I had to deal with domestic abuse, single parenting, fatherlessness, discrimination, bullying, death, and a lot of other things that many people have gone through. And when I got older, I decided to write a book about all of the things and the traumas that I've went through in life. And I named the book Syrup Sandwiches. And the title is Choose Not to Give Up. Syrup Sandwiches, Choose Not to Give Up. But the book is not about food or anything like that. It's about the struggles. And unfortunately, being raised by a single parent, my brother, my sister, and myself, we had to eat sandwiches that were made out of condiments. And we had sandwiches that were made out of just mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise, or syrup. So it's pretty bad when you're in situations where you have to have sandwiches that are made out of condiments, but that's all we had at the time. And so, but the book is not about food. It's about the traumas and the challenges that we all go through in life, but not being defined by, excuse me, but not being defined by those challenges and those traumas, but believing in yourself and choosing to not give up. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you believe in whatever your God is, if you believe in yourself and you choose not to give up, there's nothing that you can't accomplish in life. And so I wrote this book, and fortunately, the book is resonating with a lot of people because the things that I've written about, it's relatable. People can relate to domestic abuse, poverty, bullying, a lot of those things. And it doesn't matter where you're located. It doesn't matter what color or nationality or anything that you are. The things that I've gone through are relatable. And so the book has resonated and has won an award in several categories. This book won first place in a category called BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. This book came in first place in the memoir category. So I'm very honored to have that. So I decided to go, and since I had to deal with bullying myself, I decided to write another book, and I wanted to write it for the children. And this other book is called Raw Power. And Raw Power basically is about a child who's being bullied, and he winds up finding the courage and strength to stand up to his bullies. But he had a level of forgiveness as well. So this is a children's book. It's a really enduring children's book. And I also turned the children's book into a coloring book. So now all of the photos and images that are inside, children are still allowed to read the story, but now they can color all of the things in this book the way that they want to. And my books are currently available on Amazon, um, Barnes and Noble, Ingram Spark. And what I do, I try to tell people just go to my website, and that way they can see all of my works, and it'll be easier for them to order it. My website is www.ant, ANTOWENS, which is short for Anthony Owens, www.antowens.com. By the way, I did 20 years in the U.S. Navy. I did information technology, amongst other things. And so I have a lot of experience. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. And the books that I write, I want people to be able to read these books and believe enough in themselves that they can accomplish anything and just not give up on life. And so what really made me write Serve Sandwiches because of the pandemic. I mean, I really wanted to write this book for a long time and I kept putting it off because I kept what I say getting in my own way. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we get in our own way because we say that we're not smart enough. We don't know how to do something. We don't know enough. Those are things that get help us get in our own way. And so once you get out of your own way, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. And so initially, I probably had maybe 5 pages of work, and I kept procrastinating year after year. I'll get this book done, and I never did. And then when the pandemic happened, and I seen how many people were devastated by this pandemic and lost their loved ones and got turned upside down financially, a lot of trouble things, and a lot of people were giving up. And I said, you know what, now would be a good time to explain my story, to put it out there. And that's when I took those 5 or 6 pages that I had and I threw them away and I just sat down and I just started typing, typing, typing. And 4.5 months later, my book was done. Well, the writing part was done. Then I had to go through the editing process, but I'm glad that I did do it because the book has been very motivating, very positive, and my reviews are amazing. So that's a good thing. After I wrote the children's book and served sandwiches, I decided to write a workbook for served sandwiches for all the students in school. So what this book does, it allows people to have maybe read like 2 paragraphs of each chapter, and there's like 10 multiple choice questions and an area for them to fill in their thoughts and concerns. So this has been very helpful for students and just individuals alike. I After I wrote this book, and let me just say this, writing served sandwiches was really, really difficult because as I was writing it, I had to relive all of the trauma and terrible situations that I had gone through, growing up. And there was many times where I had to stop and shed some tears, but it was worth it. So after writing Surf Sandwiches and Raw Power, I want to challenge myself. I want to try something different and write a fiction. I want to see if I had the imagination and the creativity to be able to think outside the box and just write something that basically, I wouldn't say isn't real, but something that I had to think of and make up. And I did. And it's called Reasons. Reasons is a suspense thriller. Um, it's about let me read the back of it. It says, after the devastating loss of his wife, Kyle Blankenship and his son Ryan embark on a journey to piece together their shattered lives. However, when Kyle is thrust into a whirlwind of mystery, betrayal, and danger, their world is once again turned upside down. Racing against time, Kyle delves into the dark underbelly of secrets and lies surrounding his wife's murder. As he uncovers the truth, he faces a formidable adversary determined to silence him and endanger his family. Will Kyle's quest for justice lead to redemption, or will he be consumed by the shadows of vengeance and despair? In this gripping tale of love, loss, and resilience, Kyle must confront his inner demons and fight for the one he loves before it's too late. So this book is also available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and Ingram Spark. I wanted to write this other book. It's called Fatherhood Matters. And since I was raised by a single parent, I wanted to write about the dynamics of not having a father and the impacts that it have on children. And oftentimes when there's children raised by a single parent, the child not only does the parent, but the child goes through a lot. A lot of times they feel like maybe the other parent left them and didn't love them, or was it their fault that the other parent is not there? So there are a lot of things that children go through being raised by a single parent. But this book, Fatherhood Matters, is about fathers stepping up to the role of being active and present in the lives of their children. And when they're not active and present in the lives of their children, it makes a huge difference. And so I want to write about that because, like I said, this is very near and dear to me, and it's doing well. Another good thing about all of my books, even the children's book, all of them are available on Audible, so you can actually listen to every book. And I'm really grateful that I was able to get that done. I wanted to read something out of Syrup Sandwiches because this pretty much sums up how I feel or how I felt when I was writing this book. It says, as a child, you could say I was a victim. The trauma that I experienced resulted from the actions of others, from bullying and racism to an absentee father and witnessing violence. Many things in my life could have resulted in insurmountable obstacles. Yet, even as a child, somehow I knew that the way to get out of the life that I did not want and did not create would be up to me. I could spend my time blaming my father and the others who made my life difficult and embracing a victim's mentality, or I could refuse to be defeated. It wasn't fair and it wasn't my fault. Yet I was the only one who could change my life. It wouldn't be easy and it wouldn't be fast, but I was determined I would succeed. I decided I would be the person who reversed the negative cycle. I come to the realization that during my fragile emotional state, the things that helped me overcome the horrors were prayer, laughter, and the belief that I couldn't allow myself to succumb to the things that I could not control. I realized that all I can do was rock and roll with each punch that life threw at me. And when it knocked me down, I knew that it was not time to throw in the towel, but rather the time to get back up and prepare myself for the next battle. And those are the last words of Syrup Sandwiches. And if you get the opportunity to get this book or listen to it, you'll see what others are saying and see why they're saying what they're saying. This is a very positive, very powerful book. It lets people know that no matter what you're going through, that you cannot give up. You cannot quit. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can make it. And oftentimes, the reason why people do not make it through things, unfortunately, is they give up. And so once we learn to choose to not give up, and once we learn and believe in ourselves enough, you'll be amazed at what you'll be able to accomplish. So going forward, please take the opportunity to go to Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles, Ingram Sparks, any of those places, or just go straight to my website, www.ant, A-N-T-O-W-E-N-S. That's www.antowens.com. And there you'll be able to see all of my works and read about them. And the link will take you to Amazon for each of those books. So I just want to say it's been a pleasure being able to sit here and speak with you all. I enjoy being on the International Book Show, and it has been an honor. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Anthony Owens, for joining me on this edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour December 2024. Anthony's books include Syrup Sandwiches, Raw Power, Reasons, and Fatherhood Matters. The books are available to be purchased on Amazon. What I've put on display at the moment is the front cover of one of his books. You can see the front cover of the book Syrup Sandwiches on display on your screen at the moment. But also, feel free to purchase his other books, including Raw Power, Reasons, and Fatherhood Matters. That is all for Anthony Owens. His books are available to be purchased from on Amazon.
Hello, my name is Cash Onadele, and I am a writer. And today I would like to talk to you a little bit about myself and my book. I grew up in Nigeria, schooled or went to college in England, and I now live in the United States. So you can say I'm a man of the world. I have seen many things, and I've gotten to a point where I chose to write. My training is that of an architect, but I chose to write, and I thought it is important to promote the African culture, particularly the Yoruba culture, because I am also a Nigerian as I'm an American. In doing this, I have chosen the path of exploring the deeper stories within the culture. And what I come across is learning that there was actually history, proven history of great education, great enlightenment, and great customs in the Yoruba race hundreds of years before colonialism. So I explored many tracks and finally came to what I would call my magnum opus. And this is titled The Noble Warrior. It's an interesting tale. It's a tale that on a particular level, you can see it's about romance. A prince who was educated in the mannerisms of the colonials, displaced, then returned, finds his love or is intended to marry. It's a tale also of power when there is a villainous chief that does not want that to happen, does not want him to be happy, and also wants to show him he's more powerful than the prince who he considers privileged. It is also a tale of leadership where you find the chiefs in council in collusion with the villainous chief in concert with the imperialists to exploit the minerals and the giftings of the land. It is also a tale of fantasy where you find two ancients granting powers that science cannot explain. How does all this come together? Well, there is the crown, which is indirectly contested. There is chiefs, those who are jostling for power. There are those that are interested in doing other things, but most importantly, there is the corruption of the heart. And one of the corruptions of the heart is actually perpetrated by a British officer who was named a divisional officer, a Major Scott. He was interested in the intended of the prince. The prince chose by design to just live a private life, groom his intended, be good-natured, just do all that a gentleman can do and live quietly. But his intended was a lady by the name of Olasope, who, as a hawker, sold snails and mushrooms, of course, which the British officer, patronized. And he was unable to connect with her, and then was given a secret of the customs by the villainous chief. When this happened, there was a disruption to custom. And because of that, there were agitations by the secret cult. That was another power that existed in the Yoruba culture for millennia. So they are extrajudicial, and when they act in concert with the crown, they live in peace. But they represent also the wishes of the people, and they were also seeking justice. So they recruited Prince Oluwole to be part of them and to fight against the tyranny, the corruption, the leaders that had failed them, and also the almighty British imperialists at the time. it appeared that if you had the Maxim gun, you could not be defeated because the British had done that at Okpobo. They had done that successfully at Benin. So for them to come to a very small town, not more than a tenth the size of Benin or a third of Okpobo, and be pushed out was rather considered impossible. But that was what happened. The prince, who had now been pained because the British officer forcibly forced himself he deflowered his intended. The prince finally gave in to join the powerful cult. And in joining the cult, waged war, local war, powerful war against the British and defeated them. The British could have guns, but they showed the British that there was something greater than the gun. And the British had to recede and leave this town. This play is staged or is set in Ijebu-Igbo, a town in southwestern Nigeria, divided into 5 quarters and ruled by a king. A lot of lessons can be learned from this. And actually, when I wrote this, it took a period of 3.5 years, and I pulled it together in such a way that you could hear or see the patterns of behavior, the local people, the characters that lived in the time, and how they lived peaceably, how their lives were interrupted, how they regained living in peace, and how they all lived together after the exit of the British. It has been staged 5 times in Abeokuta and Lagos, Nigeria. And I made it a tribute to Professor Wole Soyinka, who is the first Nobel Prize literature winner from Africa. And I thought there's some things that resonate in his character and that of the protagonist, Oluwole. And I hope that this is a book that will attract people and teach about our culture, enlighten, entertain, and hopefully learn a few phrases in the local language, because I also made sure that I provided that half of the time. I hope you enjoy The Noble Warrior. I hope you read it, and I hope it interests you and you share amongst friends. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My name again, Cash.
Thank you very much, Cash Onadele, for joining me on this edition of the International Book Show, December 2024, and speaking about your book titled The Noble Warrior, which is available to be purchased via the website www.lulu.com. Again, thank you very much for joining me, Cash Onadele. He is the author of the book called The Noble Warrior. And if you would like to buy a copy of that book, you can go on the website www.lulu.com.
Hi, my name is Joseph Lewis. I'm an American thriller, crime, mystery writer. My first book was published in 2014, and that was a prequel to a series that I wrote. And then since then, I tell people writing is a lot like giving birth, although I've not had that pleasure, or not, as the case may be. But it takes from idea to publication about 9 months to a year in order to get everything published. I began writing at age 60. So I guess the adage is you're never too late to start something new is actually true, because that was me. This is my 49th year in education. I've been a teacher, coach, counselor. I was an administrator, a high school principal. And now I'm back to, since retiring in 2020, I've had a couple of part-time educational jobs, and right now I'm a part-time counselor at a middle school, and I absolutely love it. The reason why I write thriller, crime, mystery is because it's the kind of book that I really enjoy reading. David Baldacci, Michael Conley, C.J. Box, James Patterson, John Sanford. Those are my go-to authors. And I just enjoy reading that. So it became very natural for me to be able to write that kind of a book. And then you couple that with my experience working with kids for 49 years. What sets me apart from many other writers in that genre is the fact that I have a strong coming of age thread in each of my books. It centers around a family of adopted boys. Each one has baggage to a greater or lesser extent. And that's kind of the pattern that things go. What I do is like Patterson does with Alex Cross, or David Baldacci does with John Puller. Just moves them in from one adventure to another. And that's kind of what I do with my family of adopted boys. My newest book is called Black Yi. The Yi is a Navajo term, and it's a spiritual deity. Very much like the Catholics have many saints. In the Navajo world, their spirituality, there are many different Yi. There is one, however, that they refuse to talk about. They won't even mention the name, and that's Black Yi. And the reason why they don't mention the name is because the Navajo feel by mentioning the name or even talking about it, you are inviting evil into your life. And that is really the premise of my book, Black Yi. It's a story of love and hate. I should say love versus hate, and a strong familial love for each other and brotherhood. I'm going to let two of the characters tell you a little bit about what this book is about. The brothers are George, who is a Navajo boy of 16, 17, and his adopted brother, Brian, who is also 16, 17. And they just found out that MS-13, a very violent gang, is back in town, and they're hunting George. In one of my books called Caught in a Web, at the end of that book, there was a fabrication invented by police officers to protect individuals in a particular home from MS-13. And if the fabrication was what actually happened, who did the killing for MS-13 gang members. And they were able to successfully pin it on someone else. However, a secret is only as good if you're not talking about it. And about a year and a half, 2 years later, somebody mentions something. So the two boys are sitting at the side of a lake. George is Navajo. He was trained by his grandfather, who's a hatali, which in American parlance would be like a medicine man, a shaman. And Brian is just very spiritual, more so than probably the other boys, other than George, I'm sorry. And so they're talking, and Brian starts out by saying, last night, before we went to bed, Brett said he thinks our family is doomed. He said he feels there will always be someone after us. Do you think he's right? George pursed his lips and thought. It was going to be a complicated answer, but if anyone were to understand, it would be Brian. When I was younger, my grandfather only brought this up once or twice because he felt he was inviting it into our lives. But he felt people, mostly me, I guess, needed to know. Brian nodded. The more traditional Navajo, like my grandfather, he shrugged and said, like me, believe in Yi. They are spiritual deities, much like Greek or Roman gods we learned about in history and English. He warned me that about one in particular, Black Yi, or the evil one. In your religion, he is like Satan or the devil. He tries to trick and convince people that he shrugged again and said, drugs or alcohol or sex isn't harmful, but would bring pleasure. My grandfather believed Black Yi is the reason people seek those things and become lost. My grandfather included getting even and hurting someone. By doing all of that, people will be happy. Sounds a lot like Satan. Yes, like anywhere, there are Dene who followed him. So to answer your question, I believe there is evil in the world, and evil is led by Satan or Black Yi, just as there is good in the world. What you're saying is that something in this world, Satan or Black Yi, that is after us. Everyone, actually. Yes. Brian nodded and looked out across the lake. Geese had paddled closer to the shore. There were two aluminum boats with small outboard engines and with two fishermen each out at a distance in the sun. He knew where the best fishing spots were. In the middle of the lake, where there wasn't a sandbar or lake shelf, wasn't a brilliant spot. Brian also guessed that because of their proximity, they might be together. Brian turned and caught George staring at him. He smirked back at him. As if reading George's mind, Brian said, I was looking at those fishermen and I came to the conclusion they're not going to catch a lot. He laughed at his joke and then he said, I'm in this. 100% like Tony, his friend, wants me to be. We're brothers first, but we're also friends. We're family. Someone attacks one of us, they have all of us to answer to, not just me. That's pretty much Brian's lifeline. That's his code of honor. There were in several books, his integrity, his honesty, his belief in family was tested to the point where he almost lost his life, not once, but twice. And the same could be said with George early on. He almost lost his life defending his adopted dad and two of his adopted brothers. So the two of them believe in family. They believe in love. They believe in brotherhood. And it's this belief that keeps them going, but it also brings with it the possibility that they could be harmed by someone. That's what Black Yi is about. MS-13 is a very violent gang that had its origins in Los Angeles among the El Salvadorians. It started out as a protection for the immigrants who came to America. But as any gang evolves or devolves in this case, they run human trafficking, weapons, drugs, you name it, up and down the coast and across the country. In my particular book, because my book is centered in Waukesha, Wisconsin, it's an Indian name. They run the drug trade up I-43 from Chicago all the way up into York County, Wisconsin, and up into northern Wisconsin, up in the wooded area. And Black Yi first came into Waukesha during my book, Caught in a Web, where they were trying to find out who it was that was cutting in on their territory. But they had an alternative, or I should say an ulterior motive, and that was to kill George. And the reason is in the book. I won't go into detail, but he almost lost his life that night. And now they're back again because someone told the secret. I hope you pick it up. Hope you enjoy it. And it was very nice meeting all of you. Thank you. Here is a book trailer to my particular book, Black Yi, that gives you a very visual look of what the book is about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for joining me on this edition of the International Book Show, December 2024. Joseph Lewis, he's author of the book called Black Yee, and the book is available to be purchased from via his website and also via Amazon. The website to go on is www.jrlewisauthor.com, or you can go on Amazon, as I mentioned before. Author Joseph Lewis. The book title is Black Yee. The website again is www.jrlewisauthor.com. Alternatively, you can buy his book from Amazon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tamera Foley, and I'm so happy to be with you today. And I just want to share, I have two businesses, Education for All Now and Garwell Publishing. And today I'm going to integrate both of them into a conversation. The Education for All Now, we have launched a blog, and the blog is Mending Minds and Healing Hearts. And that is based on some mental health principles, knowing that how to implement self-care, knowing how to take care of yourself during the holiday, knowing how to just take care of yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally. Sometimes we forget that our emotional well-being is just as important as our physical well-being. As we would go to the doctor if we had a pain, but sometimes we have a pain in our hearts, or we just have some emotional scars that we need to heal, and we don't really pay attention to them. We let them keep going and going, and we don't do anything to help heal or get us to a better place, to get control of what we need to in our lifestyle, our environment, and even people that we come in contact with. So today I want to share with you the blog and how to get to it. So Mending Minds, Healing Hearts, you can find that at Education for the number 4 allnow.org/blog. And please go to the blog, read it, leave comments. We are a community there. And certainly right now we are focused on self-care and getting through the holidays, getting through the loneliness, getting through the grief, getting through sometimes the holiday for us may not be as happy as for everyone else. So that is our focus right now. And then starting in January again, we'll be going back to talking about mindfulness and how we can use those techniques and steps to help improve our own mental health and improve our own life. So I'd like to share with you today just some resources that you can use that we have, and you can always access these on educationforallnow.org, and you can go to /shop, and we also have Linktree, and you can go to our Linktree, and that would be Linktree/Tamera Foley. So that information will be available to you. So the first thing I want to talk about is we have a journal, Healing Trauma Affirmation Journal for teens and tweens. So many times our children are dealing with problems. They're scared, they're confused, they're stressing over things. They don't know how to cope. They're feeling hopeless, and they've been through events. And so all of us have been through COVID. So we've all experienced some trauma. So this is a journal, and in the journal, there's a positive affirmation for the day, and then there's something that they can write about. So we look at today, it says, I am trusting myself. Write about why you are trusting yourself, and they can write. It also gives them an opportunity to draw or doodle or to continue with their self-expression. And they can decide, it's not in any order. They can do it exactly how they want to. Maybe today, I'm stronger today than yesterday. So maybe today they want to write about their strengths and draw. And maybe they want to create another affirmation that they prefer to have. Then they can do it right here in the book. This is great for teens and tweens. Also, we have a healing trauma affirmation journal for adults. This has been one of our very popular items, and it is similar in the similar format as the teen and tweens, but of course, we have daily gratitude. 3 things I'm grateful for today, 3 people I'm grateful for. And then we have things that you can color. We know that coloring also helps us to reduce stress. We also have an affirmation, and then you can write again, and write. You could talk about gratitude, and then we can go on to the coloring portion. So these are definitely things that we can do to help adults, or adults can do. Again, it's not in any particular order. You can decide on how you want to, what you want to address, and you go through, and it's right there. It's already there for you. Every day, I am becoming a stronger, more resilient version of myself, capable of rising to any challenge with unwavering determination and courage. Write about what you have done to become resilient. What steps are you taking to become courageous? Another great and popular book with our adults, and also a journal that just help you. We don't have to be going through something right then, but just really help you to keep positive. For our younger children, we have Exploring My Emotions, and we've talked about this before. It's a 45-day journal for elementary school children. Please know that all these are available during the holidays. If you go on Linktree, you'll see the bundles. You'll see them at Education for All now. And this is just great. It's a 45-day. Again, children do not have to go in any particular order. There are word searches. There's a place for them to write. There's a place for them to doodle. This is for our elementary. There are 7 different sections: back to school, the world around us, reflections, family, projects, changes, and experiences. And for our teens and tweens in grades 3 through 8, Healing Hearts. And this actually encouraged our blog. And this was created, again, to help students heal. It includes poetry, reflection, and art. So many different things that they can do. There is a poem, and then they can reflect on the poem. They can draw and doodle and talk about what types of things they're feeling when they're reflecting on the poem. So another great resource for our 3rd through 8th grade students, and a lot of nice art that they can actually color or maybe add to, or just show their creativity. All of these are available at educationforallnow.org/shop or on our Linktree. And we're so happy that we are able to offer these resources for you. When you order the bundle, and that the bundle includes the Healing Hearts, it includes the Exploring My Emotions, and it includes an affirmation journal for teens and tweens. And when you order this, you also get many resources. So they can have a stress ball, make it happen. You can have a what we call just some stickers. There are colored pencils to help you get through and help you to use the resource. The bundle is available now, and it will be available throughout the season anytime. But this is a great gift. It's a great resource, and it's something that you can give and really has lifelong effects, and something that you can use to complement the blog. So if you read the blog and you say, wow, I want to work on this, I want to do just a little bit more, to talk about or think about or feel about or write about, these resources are available for you to do that. So thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you in our community. Please feel free to join our community. We have a private Facebook page, Support for Children in Trauma. Please feel free to join in the conversation on mental health, on healing, and in getting to know ourselves better and taking care of ourselves. We really appreciate you. Have a great day. And just remember that healing is a process.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tamera Foley. Dr. Tamera Foley, her business Education for All Now is one of the sponsors of the International Book Show. You heard Tamera speak about her journals. She has the Healing Trauma Affirmation Journal, Exploring My Emotions Journal, and the Healing Hearts Poetry, Reflection, and Art Journal. Her websites are www.educationforallnow.org. She also has another website which is for her publishing services that she offers, which is www.garwellpublishing.com. And she's also the author of the Cassie's Big Change series, and that website is www.cassiesbigchange.com. Something as well that Dr. Tamera Foley, she mentioned as well, was her new blog on our website, educationforallnow.org. So, check that out. Tamera Foley, author, publisher, and blogger. Again, she was speaking about her journals, Healing Trauma Affirmation Journal, Exploring My Emotions Journal, and the Healing Hearts Poetry, Reflection, and Art Journal. So do check out her websites, educationforallnow.org. If you're interested in publishing a book, you can go on garwellpublishing.com, and also check out cassiesbigchange.com regarding the Cassie's Big Change series books.
My name is Terry Lister. I am from Bermuda, tiny island of Bermuda. They like to say we punch much greater than our weight. We're only 20 square miles and 60,000 people, but we're known all over the world. I myself have had a career as a partner in Deloitte, the accounting firm. I joined as a partner at age 27, retired at 43. I left at that point because I had gotten involved in our political structure, and I became a senator for my party until 1998, when we won the election. And during the next 14 years of government, I served as a minister for 10 years. I always wanted to have a life of my own. And as a result, what I mean by that is a life not tied down by a job. So my plan was to retire at 60. And in 2014, I did just that. I've been retired for 10 years now, and I spent that time as a slow solo traveler. What does that mean? Well, it means that I go in a systematic way through areas, taking the time I need to understand and to be able to appreciate what goes on there, what challenges the people face, and how they overcome them. I started my journey in Central America and went to every country in Central America using Belize as my base. And I used Belize because it was the only place that had English as their national tongue. I am very poor with languages. I made no serious effort to really learn any other languages, apart from the time having left Central America. I went to South America, and there I went to a little Spanish school for 6 weeks in Quito. Good experience. I learned enough to get me around South America. In South America, I went to every country except for Venezuela, which I'm hopeful will become a peaceful, calm place within a few years, and I can go and see that. Now, having finished those two places, I had to decide where to go next. And I decided that age and health would become an issue in years to come. So right here and now, this being 2017, I would go into Africa. I spent 4 years in Africa, being humbugged near the end of it, of course, by COVID. But during those 4 years, I started in West Africa. Now, many people say, why would you do that? Well, there's a simple reason for that. East Africa is fairly well known outside of Africa, as is Southern Africa, as is Northern Africa. And so I felt that I could go into West Africa, experience it, write about it, and try to get people who've never even considered going there to understand what it's like, to put aside the scary tales and deal with the realities. I found my time in West Africa very well spent. I travel as a local. And so the things that tourists who come in a tour group and have a nice van picking them up in the morning and driving them comfortably to where they're going, their experiences and my experiences are totally different. I traveled as the locals do in a set-place car coming out of France, made to accommodate 6 people comfortably. Sometimes these cars wouldn't leave the depot until they had 12 people, and you would be stuck. So the key was to get there nice and early, get a good seat, and the problems of the back seat were in yours. And so most of the time I managed to accomplish that. But nevertheless, as I moved around, what I saw was, yes, there was a lot of poverty, but more importantly, there were people who were striving and trying to make a better way. And that's always very important. And so I learned from that. And as I was traveling, I had several people who said, Terry, you need to write this. You need to share it. I really didn't want to. I wanted to just experience it. I wanted to prepare for my trips, go on the trips, and take it in. But after some coercion, you might say, I decided to write. At this point, I've written 6 books, all on West Africa primarily. The last book, Let's Go to Gabon, Cameroon, and Namibia, goes obviously into Namibia, which is not West Africa at all. It's more Central Africa. But what a great experience to go to a place like that. Namibia forced me to come face to face with the fact that on the surface, you can see one thing, but underneath the surface, it's very, very different. And that's something that when you travel in a tour group, you don't really catch on to. I saw a beautiful country with many different things to show you or offer you as a tourist. I spent a full month there, and when I left, I was sure I could have spent another month just going around the country. But in that country, 75% of the land that is usable, because there's a large desert, of course, but 75% of the land that is usable is owned by 5% of the people. Imagine that. And the people who fall into that group of not earning very much or not earning any find themselves in very, very bad conditions. And these are not spoken about outside of the country. And so those people who come from outside often don't have a clue what it's really like. Now, some problems are really big and require lots of funds and expertise to fix them, but some just require people to think. All across Africa, there are many NGOs, and the people at the top are primarily people coming in from the funding country. The local people seldom make it beyond the middle ranks. And so the input of the local person isn't really at the decision-making table. And so you don't get the results that you would really like to get. A simple example is this. As I went around Africa, and I was an education minister in Bermuda, so as I went around Africa, in some places I would see children just running all day, 4-year-olds running together, 6-year-olds running together, 8-year-olds running together. And that's what they did. And so I said, you know, if you made schooling free, these children could go to school. And the person I'm talking to says, it is free. I thought, what? You have free education. These children aren't in school. What's the problem? And they said they have to wear uniforms and they have to have school books. Well, I believe in uniforms. Yes, I have no problem with that. But the parents could not find the money for a uniform, could not find the money for a proper book bag with books. The books are required. And so I thought about this, and I thought, you know, rather than the NGOs keeping their heads up on all these big problems, a problem like this, educating children, tomorrow's adults, could be simply solved by having exchange programs at the schools where, you know, I have 3 sons but no daughters, and This next person has a need for clothing. Well, as my sons outgrow their clothes, I can pass them on. It's no point to me keeping those clothes once those children have outgrown them. Or if I have a son and a daughter, as each one of them outgrows their clothes, they can go in the program and be exchanged. By doing that, you wouldn't just be giving away your clothes for free. You would be providing an opportunity for a child to go to school. Tremendous. And no money's changed hands on this. So you don't need money for it. You just need organization. You need somebody to think it through. And so I saw many problems of this nature. There's this belief that corruption rules. That's not really true. There is some corruption in some places and at some levels. But at the ground level, in my books, I've talked about how there are times when I'd be riding in a car, taxi, long distance, sitting in the front seat, and we'd drive up onto a roadblock. The taxi would stop. The driver would put his hand across my chest. A policeman would put his hand across my chest. Nobody's speaking, but money changes hands. Well, that's a degree of corruption. You can't get around that. But many times these people are underpaid or not paid. I came across a gentleman who I got to know pretty good. He worked in marketing in a private firm. And he didn't like it because he couldn't be guaranteed his pay. And so he got a job working for the government in their communications department. He was really happy. His pay is guaranteed to him. Only problem is he can go fall 3 or 4 months behind before he got it. Imagine us in the West trying to live, not having had our paycheck for 3 months. Be pretty hard. And so you see the difference. You see how people are forced to deal with these things and get ahead. There's an idea that sometimes people fall behind because they're lazy. I can remember standing in one of the markets in Liberia and watching young men, 20 to 25 years old, hustling, selling ties, selling shoes, selling socks. You know, our young man wouldn't do that in the West, stand in the street and sell socks. But these men do it because they've got to find a way for their families to survive. And so the myths that people have enjoyed have created and added to the problem of how you move Africa ahead. When you travel and you stay there long enough, you see how rich the place is. It is incredibly rich. There are minerals and other forms of wealth in just about every country. But the money doesn't work its way around. And so what I hope to do as I continue to write is to show people how things actually work there. I've been very pleased because my reviews often talk about me writing in an unbiased way. And that's what I really tried to do, not to take a side, but to present what is there. Before I travel, I do a lot of research. When I'm out there, I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes you annoy people. I smile to myself when someone says, "You ask a lot of questions." I say, "Yes, I do, don't I?" But I'll leave them alone and ask somebody else a lot of questions because I'm not going to come back with a view that really is inaccurate because I talk to one person. I'm going to try to talk to as many as possible. Africa has a great future, and we can all hold hands and see how to make it work. The people there are genuine, they're willing to work hard, and you see it when they're immigrants coming into countries in the West. Yes, I'm Terry Lister. It's been a pleasure to talk with you today about my experiences as a solo slow traveler and to show you how I've been able to get around Africa. As I mentioned, I've written 6 books and they are available on Amazon. That's a place we sell the books, and you can just order online. The easiest way to get a book if you're not in the United States is to get an ebook. An ebook will get to you within minutes of making the order. With the books that are paperback books, they take a little longer coming through the mails and sometimes become more expensive. So that's always a concern to me. You can also get the books from myself. My website is terrylister.com. You go to our website and you can purchase books from us that way. And we can ensure we get them to you as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much, Terry Lister, for joining me on this edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour, December 2024. Terry has written several books, including Immersed in West Africa, Let's Go to Gabon, Cameroon, and Namibia, Travels in Senegal, the Land of Peace and Purpose, The Gambia, the Smiling Coast, Peace, Joy, and Love, Christmas in Africa, and A New Day Dawns. You can check out his website, www.terrylister.com. If you go on his website, it will redirect you to Amazon where you can purchase his books. Alternatively, you can go directly onto Amazon to get a copy of his book or his books, if you want to buy more than one of his books. Once again, that's author Terry Lister. He is the author of the books including Immersed in West Africa, Let's Go to Gabon, Cameroon, and Namibia, Travels in Senegal, the Land of Peace and Purpose, The Gambia, the Smiling Coast, Peace, Joy, and Love, Christmas in Africa, and A New Day Dawns. Once again, his website is www.terrylister.com. Alternatively, you can go directly on Amazon to buy his books.
It's a pleasure to be here on the International Book Show. Thank you very much, Makonnen, for inviting me. And it's always a pleasure to be on these monthly shows and to hear from all the other authors as well. My name is Bary Dear, and I'm holding up my book. It's called Worth. And essentially, it's a memoir. It's about me being abandoned on the road in Uganda, and then being subsequently adopted by a Punjabi Asian family. I'm of dual heritage. I am part African, I'm part Asian. And my book is essentially called Worth because, in my experience, I went through messages about my illegitimacy, regarding my sex, my gender, regarding my color, regarding my race, being part African. And a lot of those messages were quite negative and they shaped my sense of worth. And for a long time, I didn't really value myself. So I wrote this memoir in the hope that if there was anybody who was also going through similar struggles, that they would be empowered to know that they're not the only people going through such struggles, but also and prejudices, but also, hopefully, from my memoir, sort of learn or develop skills and strategies for themselves after hearing what I went through and how I got through it, and regained my sense of worth. So today, I just want to talk a bit about assumptions that are made by adults and by society and by communities that can impact on a child's sense of worth. So there was an assumption about me being born illegitimate, and the assumption was that I would do what my birth mother did. So in the 60s, illegitimacy was really a taboo subject and it was really frowned upon. So my adoptive parents were told that I would do what my birth mother had done and that I would end up having a baby out of wedlock and I would dishonor the family. And, people questioned them very much as to what they were doing. There was also an assumption, and I still hear it in some cultures. In fact, I heard it the other day and it took me a bit by surprise because I thought, where did that come from? Why are people still using these terms that are so derogatory? So the term was half caste, and I heard it. Actually, it was on a Nigerian talent show. One of the judges asked one of the contestants if they were half caste because they described themselves as Indian and they looked black like me. And I was really shocked. I shouldn't be, but I was. I thought, why in this day and age, terms like half caste or dirty blood, derogatory terms like those have no place in society today. But that's a huge assumption that people make, and people make an assumption that they can call you such names and you'll be okay with it. The other assumption that I want to talk about is I developed an illness called epidermolysis bullosa when I was 8 years old, and it's EB for short. And essentially, it's a skin problem where it looks as if somebody's chucked hot water all over you because you come out in blisters. It's not contagious. It's a very rare phenomenon. And there are various explanations for it. But the main assumption that was made was, coming from a family that was Sikh and coming in from a community that was predominantly Hindu, the assumption was that I must have done something bad in my past life to suffer like this in this life. And another assumption was that I didn't have enough faith to get cured, and that if I had faith, God would cure me. So those sort of assumptions can be very damaging to a child's sense of worth. And I sometimes wonder if religious people or people who believe in a particular religion, whether it's Hinduism, Christianity, or Sikhism or whatever, actually understand the impact on a child if they have a disability or an illness or a condition, and they're frequently told, oh, the reason why you are not getting better is because of lack of faith, or because you're being tested for something. And it does have a huge impact. So that's a huge assumption that, a child going through those sort of, going through that sort of situation will accept that, God has chosen this path for them. The other assumption that came about and was really related to to me being illegitimate. So my mother gave me a story that when they were going on the ship to India, a man came up and he literally snatched me from my mum's arms, and he tried to throw me overboard, saying to my mum that he would save her from her dishonor. So he made an assumption that my mum had had an extramarital affair, and that's why she had this African child. And he was very, very affronted by the sight of me, and decided that he would save my mum from her dishonor by actually throwing me aboard. And my father had to come and prize him off, and there was a big fight. And I thought, why do people make such assumptions? Even now, even as I was growing up, when we met people made assumptions to my mum, like, oh, you brought your servant over from Uganda. How, God's going to bless you for calling her your daughter, and refused to accept that my mum had adopted me. And, and then there were the normal whispers that my mum must have had an affair, or my dad must have had an affair, and what a saint my mum was to accept the product of his affair. So, how awful my mum was, and what a saint my dad was for accepting his wife's infidelity. So that assumption was made on the basis of people just not comprehending that a child can be adopted and be of a different color in the family. So I just wanted to talk about those main assumptions, and the impact it had on my sense of worth, and how I battled through those sort of prejudices, and actually having to battle through lack of worth to gaining a sense of worth. And it's all in my book, which is called Worth. And it's, McConan will tell you where it's available afterwards, but it's just there. And I just wanted to say that I have an affirmation that I hope will help people listening to this, that no person has the right to take my spirit just because they don't like something about me, my beliefs, values, or lifestyle. And I think that's really important. If you're battling through any such prejudices from people who don't accept your lifestyle, they don't accept your gender, they don't accept your beliefs or your values or your sexuality, whatever it is, they have no right. No one has the right to take your life. No one has the right to take away your sense of spirit and your sense of worth. And I just hope that if you are going through any particular struggles in your lives, that you will just try and hold on, that most struggles are temporary. They're not permanent. They do go. It's how you deal with them and how you empower yourself not to let them affect your heart or your soul in any way. And to remember that you are a person of value, you're a person of purpose, you have a right to be here. Whoever you are, whatever lifestyle you lead, you have a purpose here and you have every right to be who you are. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And so I just want to say thank you again for listening to me. And I hope you get something out of this video today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bary Dear, for joining us on this edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour, December 2024. Bary is one of the sponsors of the International Book Show. Her book is called Worth, and you can buy the book via Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop.org, Booktopia, and Indigo. That's Bary Dear. Her book is titled Worth, and you can get her book on Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop.org, Booktopia, and also Indigo.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It all depends on where you are in the world. I am Sister Legette of Newbury and the Gifts Books, and it's an honor and a privilege to be on the International Book Show. I am a bookseller, not a publisher yet or an author yet, but it's always good to know the authors that are in the United Kingdom as well as those around the world. So tonight I'm just going to talk about two books that these are British authors. This particular lady is called Florence Olajide, and her book is called Coconut. This book is really good because it gives you an insight into someone who is born in Nigeria, brought up over here in the United Kingdom, and then transitions over to Nigeria and live a Nigerian life. And the contrast and the difference between living in the United Kingdom and here. And it's been such a wonderful book so far. What I've read on it, it's really, really good. So this young lady, her parents come over. This is pre-colonial. This is in the 70s, and her parents come over because in Nigeria, what they had done, they had sent a lot of the people in order to come over to the United Kingdom to do all the administrative work in Nigeria at the time under the colonialists. So her parents came, and what they had done, they went and they did studying, and they put her into foster care, but it was called, another word for it was farming. So they got a couple, it was a British lady, a white lady, who actually helped raise her for the time that she was here, and she called her Nan, and Nan gave her a different name from Florence. And so she was brought up with other children in that home, and it was loving. And Nan taught her a lot of things, that if she was ever frightened, she could just do a knot to the top of a nightie, comfort herself, and so forth. And then the parents would come down and visit. And then after a period of time, that was great. And then her parents came to Nan's home and took her. And by this time, she had some other siblings, and they went back to Nigeria. So it's a beautiful book to see the insight, the culture, and how the contrast between the British culture and the Nigerian culture. The second book is by Naomi Thompson called Almost British, talking about the racism, race discrimination, and how she won her justice by actually taking this situation to court. Now, this is a brilliant book, and it helps anyone who's in the same dilemma and going through the process. Naomi is also a prolific writer and a performance poet. So if you ever have a chance to listen to her live, absolutely great. So this book is profound, and I would highly recommend it in order for you to understand what it's like to be in an establishment. You're there, but you're literally invisible, and you're passed over for promotion, and you're expected to be quiet. But this lady was very resilient, and she actually put down what was happening to her over a period of time, and it became a book. So this is about the bullying and the victimization at your organization. And she discovered her way. She was resilient, so she wasn't going to give up. So I am Nubian in the Gifts Books. I'm also on Instagram, Nubian the Gifts Books, and my email is nubianthegiftsbooks7@gmail.com. And you'll see that I have a books, and I also am on Amazon. So this has been a wonderful time to actually express what I actually do as a book distributor.
Thank you very much, Sister Leggett from Nubian the Gifts Books. Nubian the Gifts Books are one of the sponsors of the International Book Show. Sister Leggett sells a wide variety of books from Black authors. These books include themes such as Pan-Africanism, African history, spirituality, health, children's books, and contemporary books. If you would like to contact Sister Leggett from Nubian the Gifts Books, you can contact her via email. The email is nubianthegiftsbooks7@gmail.com. I'll just spell that. So Nubian, that's spelled Nubian, Nigist, Nigist, books, Books, and then 7, as in just the number 7, not spelling it, just the number 7, and @gmail.com. The bookseller, Nubian the Gifts Books, contact Sister Leggett. Sister Leggett sells a wide variety of books from Black authors. These books include themes such as African history, Pan-Africanism, spirituality, health, children's books, and contemporary books. The best way to contact Sister Leggett is via email. You can also contact her if you're author and you're interested in stocking your book and selling it at her events that she goes to. Nubian the Gifts Books 7@gmail.com. Nubian the Gifts Books, she also has some books stocked on Amazon as well. Not the full range of books, but she does have some books stocked on Amazon. But do contact her via email for the wider collection of her books. We are coming to a conclusion of this episode of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour video show, December 2024. Wow, what a great show it's been. Some great authors, very educational, informational, and inspirational. I hope you've felt uplifted by watching the show. And please do join us again next month for the January edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour, which you can watch on P English Literature YouTube channel. You can also watch it via our Facebook. If you join the Facebook group, the International Book Show, and please do join the Facebook group. We've got almost 2,000 members, so please help us get to 2,000. Join the Facebook group. That's a place where you can watch the next edition of the International Book Show. Also via the website, internationalbookshow.com. Now, what I would just like to do at this particular point in time is to say, for people who are watching the show, who are authors, publishers, booksellers, people in the book industry who may want to feature on the show in the future, feel free to reach out to me. Go on the website, internationalbookshow.com. There's a contact us form. If you go on the contact us section, or if you go on the be a show guest section, fill out the contact form, and then I will then get back to you regarding the possibility of you featuring on a future edition of the International Book Show. You can also reach out to us via email. If you email info@internationalbookshow.com, that's info@internationalbookshow.com, send an email requesting to be on the show, and I will get back to you. If you would like to recommend the author to be on the show, also feel free to reach out to me. Or if you would like to give feedback, I hope you enjoyed this particular episode of the show, but if you would like to give any feedback, again, email info@internationalbookshow.com. Alternatively, go on the website info@internationalbookshow.com and the contact us section and fill out the contact us form, and we will receive your feedback. Once again, I would just like to say thank you all for watching and listening to the International Book Show virtual book tour. Wherever you watch or listen to the show, whether it was in Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, USA, thank you very much. This is Makonnen Sankofa, host of the International Book Show, signing off and saying goodbye, everyone.